Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakula and thank you for stopping by. This video is a part of a Hero Arts blog hub celebrating the launch of Hero Arts December 2016 My Monthly Hero Kit. Visit my blog to learn more about this kit and to enter a giveaway. I fell in love with this kit the minute I saw it and thought it was perfect for creating New Year's Eve party invitations. You can use this kit for so much more than that, but I'll show you a simple and easy way to create party invitations for your next party. I knew I wanted my invitations to be very simple and easy to mass produce, so with that idea in mind, I came up with a simple layout and then duplicated it with slight variations. I heat embossed all of my invitations and then I foiled some of them. So you'll see some of my projects having gold or silver foil and some having gold embossing powder. Now I started looking for ways I could create the confetti-like background. I didn't have a stamp that would stamp what I had in mind, so instead I picked Fall Trees color layering stamp set from Hero Arts, and I used 2 dot clusters to create my confetti. If you don't have this stamp, you can use little confetti images from the birthday celebrations stamp set from Hero Arts. It's an add-on for this month's kit, or you can find small dots like these in many different other sets. Just look through your stash and I'm sure you'll find something suitable. I picked a few colors of cardstock. This is cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I cut my paper into 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panels. I later trimmed each panel to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And in case you're wondering what colors of cardstock I used, I have them all listed in my video description below the video and also on my blog. To create the confetti-like backgrounds, I treated my panels with an anti-static powder tool. What this tool does is it eliminates oils and grease from your fingers and helps to keep embossing nice and clean. So I picked 2 dot clusters, a bigger and a smaller dot, and I first stamped 2 rows of large dots onto my panel. Next, I switched to the smaller dot cluster and added a 3rd row of dots, plus I stamped these small dots over the first 2 rows to add dots of smaller sizes to my paper. So basically, I stamped a number of confetti-like dots onto my background, making sure to overlap some, and to rotate my stamps to avoid having same-looking stamped impressions and create one continuous impression made of large and small dots. Next, I added embossing powder. I used silver embossing powder here on this panel as I was planning to use silver foil over this, although I used gold foil in the end. You can use clear embossing powder or whatever other color you prefer. I have found it doesn't really matter much what color of embossing powder you can use under your foil. Now, in case you're confused why all of a sudden I'm talking about embossing powder and foil, let me explain. So you can foil images with the help of heat embossing powder. They are not going to be as perfectly looking as images that are foiled over prints made on laser printer, but they will still look nice. I have a detailed video tutorial on my YouTube channel explaining the entire foiling over heat embossing powder process, so be sure to check it out if you don't know how to do this type of foiling, as I will not be explaining this in detail in this video. So let's go back to the card. I preheat my heat tool and melted my powder, creating a beautiful heat embossed confetti background. Now this background looks great as is, but I really wanted to add some foil on top and have foiled invitations. So I pulled out my foil stash and I used this gold foil from Heidi Swap. I was planning to use silver, but I couldn't find it when I was filming, so I used gold instead and it still turned out great. So I'm not going to focus on the foiling part here, as I've already explained that in an earlier video. I'll just show you the results here. It didn't foil the piece perfectly, but I still love the way it turned out, and I think that that imperfection added quite a bit to the overall handmade look and feel of this project. Next, I stamped a sentiment. It reads, "Come for happy hour," and once again I used clear embossing ink and I covered this with white embossing powder. The reason I didn't do this heat embossing right away when I heat embossed my confetti background is because if I were to foil over it, it would have picked up that gold foil and it would have turned gold. And while that might look nice, I have found that foiling over heat embossed sentiments is not such a great idea. The foiling ends up being not very detailed and the sentiment becomes unreadable in the end. So this is why I didn't foil the sentiment and why I heat embossed it after I foiled the background. You can simply stamp it using colored ink and then do your foiling. The foil will not stick to the ink. Now, if you don't have a laminator machine and foil, you can still make these or similar invitations. Simply keep them heat embossed. They will still look great and will have your guests go wow. To finish my invitations, I used the Cheers coordinating die from my kit and die cut it twice out of white paper. I added some double-sided tape from the back of my paper before die cutting it to make it easier to adhere the sentiment onto the panel. The reason I die cut it twice is because I wanted to give it some dimension and I wanted it to be raised above my background just a little bit. Lastly, I knew I wanted to add a drink to my invitations, so I used Hero Art's Cocktail Party stamp and cut set and created yummy drinks for my invitations. I heat embossed drink outlines in gold embossing powder to match my foiling. To color the drinks, I decided to use Copic markers and I colored each drink using a few aqua colors going from dark to light. There is a stamp that you can use to stamp the liquid inside the glass, but it doesn't fill the entire width of the glass. So this is why I decided to use markers and add my own coloring to these glasses. So I used BG18 as my darkest color, BG15 as my medium color, and BG32 as my lightest color. I also used the lightest color to set the liquid level in the glass to know where I needed to stop my coloring. I cut the drink shapes out and also die cut identical shapes out of Scrapbook Adhesive's adhesive foam. I love using this stuff to add dimension to my die cuts. I trimmed my panels to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. I adhered them onto white cardstock panels. I had party details printed on the back of these, and finally added my drink glasses on top. So I first adhered the foam shape and then added the colored glass over it. To add some shine to my drinks, I coated the entire shape with glossy accents. I left some drinks as is, and to some I added paper straws. I made them out of gold cardstock. I simply trimmed paper into a narrow strip and adhered it inside my glass. I used Simon Says Stamp V-flap envelopes in metallic silver and gold to deliver these invitations. So here's a closer look at these projects created using my monthly Hero December 2016 kit from Hero Arts. Now, these kits are available for a limited time only. Once they're gone, so if you love this kit, be sure to grab it now. If you're looking for a list of supplies, for an entire list of supplies to create these invitations, you can find it in the video description below and also on my blog. On the screen, you're seeing a few more video tutorials from my YouTube channel. Feel free to check them out for more inspiration. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Bye!